Hello, and welcome to Sideways. This week, we're talking about the roles we play and how we define ourselves. We ask one another how we'd like to be remembered and ponder the question, which is the best Black Sabbath album? Also, there's a short guided relaxation at the end of this episode so that you can spend a bit of time with yourself. So if you're listening while driving, please pause at that point and listen to the meditation when it's safe for you to do so. Who are you?
Hello.
Morning.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can. Yeah. It's all loud and clear, mate.
Mm.
And I'm assuming that's coming through the other end as well.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. What?
I don't know. I was just thinking. Actually, I've just been listening to a bit of Technical Ecstasy by Black Sabbath.
Have you?
Yeah.
Why? Just
Why?
fancied it this morning.
Well, it's a bit weird, and it's sort of it rolls in quite nicely in what we're going to talk about. Well, one part of it anyway. It's a bit of a tenuous link, but
We're going to talk about
It's
Black
just-
Sabbath.
not really. No. But I'll talk about. Well, I'll let you wait until I come to that in my notes. Thank you very much.
That's a good album.
Just-
Technical Ecstasy.
Well, it's strange because I just had a message through from Chris. Chris used to live next door to me as a child. He was speaking to someone who apparently I did a jacket for them, a Technical Ecstasy painting on the back of a denim jacket. And I thought, I'll have a listen to that. So yeah, I listened to a bit of Technical Ecstasy. Rolling Stone magazine did a poll amongst Black Sabbath fans. It's not even in their top 10.
Really? I'll have to ask Adam, because Adam is a massive Black Sabbath fan.
He knows everything about Sabs.
He virtually goes out on double dates with Ozzy.
I quite like. It's full of sort of cliched guitar solos, really, but it's quite cool.
Start having a go at Black Sabbath now. Of course, I am somewhat the devil incarnate when it comes to Black Sabbath, because I preferred Black Sabbath with Ronnie Dio rather than Ozzy.
Yeah, you're in a bit of a minority there, really, I think, but that's a bit of you, isn't it?
Could you, just on the subject of painting jackets, would you be able to do me an REO Speedwagon one?
I'm not sure my brushes would go in the correct direction with an American soft rock album cover, but I could, yeah, sure. I'm easy.
What, like Sunday morning?
Easy like Sunday morning. But
You're not working today, then?
I'm not at work today. It's quite weird because when I finished the job yesterday, I was finishing it on my own because Les was away, and the lady offered me a couple of beers to take with me.
Oh, did she?
Yeah, she did.
What did you say?
And so I said, I won't. Thank you very much. I won't. I don't drink. And that I should have just left it at that. But then it opened up the whole subject of why I didn't drink and all that sort of thing. So
did she ask you? Did she say, "Oh, why don't you drink?"
She did, yeah. And I said,
That's
well, I used to
that,
drink.
because if anybody, well, maybe that's because I know you, but if anybody ever said that to me, "Oh, I don't drink," I'd just leave it.
Yeah, no, I think a lot of people wonder why you don't. I mean, it's so ingrained in regular society that people find it a bit weird that you don't imbibe.
Yeah, well, you are a bit weird. I mean, that is true.
So that was a bit strange. I was going to take them, give them to Les, but I thought, no, I'm not going to have them in my house. It's not a good idea.
No, absolutely not. Right,
Yes.
So come on then. Don't keep me waiting. What are we talking about today? Because I haven't got a clue.
You haven't got a Scooby on this one. It's about definitions and roles. Now, you sort of mentioned it that you quite liked this area. I think we briefly touched upon it at one point.
Okay.
So I did do a bit of research, obviously, and come up. And I'm going to start with one, if you don't mind. It's like it's two very short sentences strung together, and I'm not sure I like the second part of it, but I'm sure you'll be able to analyse it appropriately. Okay, it starts off as, it's not who you are underneath, it's what you do that defines you. Strong people define themselves, weak people allow others to define them.
So the first bit, it's not who you are underneath, it's what you do that defines you. I mean, I don't even agree with that.
Do you not? Right, okay. I knew I've got several little quotes here. I knew that you'd be able to come up with alternatives or reasons why they're not suitable. So why is that?
I mean, of course, with that one though, and I guess we're going to talk about this. Obviously, I don't know what you've got on your extensive notes, but with the first half of that one, I mean, that would certainly be true of people in addiction or or in early stages of recovery, wouldn't it? That they would feel as if they were defined by their behaviour.
Yeah.
I suppose that's what you were going for. You were kind of trying to reel me in with that one.
Oh, a little bit. Yeah, I knew you'd probably buy it. But there's another bit that follows on from that. It's define yourself, not by how much you are loved, but by how much you love others. How about that one? And we all want to be loved, don't we? Isn't that part of our makeup, part of our psyche, that we like to be liked or like to be loved?
Yeah, we do. Yeah, I mean, we're connected, aren't we? We're not really built to be completely isolated. Define yourself not by how much you loved, but how much you love others. Is that it?
Yeah, not by how much you are loved, but how much you love others.
Yeah, I think this whole subject of defining yourself is quite tricky, actually.
Well, I'm pleased you said that, because that's what I go on to in my notes as to why, it's probably wrong to have definitions. How definitions and how we define ourselves is different from how other people define us, and how it changes through our lives. The way we define does change through our lives, doesn't it? But it seems that there's one thing that seems to have an overall definition. There seems to be one big thing that happens, or one big thing we do. People define us as a certain thing. And although it changes through life, I think, when you look at certain people, celebrities, for example, you look at them and they're defined by one act or one. I mean, it's surprising how often people will be defined by things they can't change, really, or can't do anything about. So their sexuality, for example. Yeah. That although it's becoming, thankfully less prominent, in the past that has been something that's totally defined someone, isn't it?
What you mean? So when you're talking about it defining someone, you're talking about how other people can't see past it.
Yeah.
Any other aspect.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, it's probably the same as you. When you're growing up, I was defined by my height initially, because I was taller than everyone else in the class and taller than everyone, and that I was known as the tall fella. And then you're
reasonable.
Yeah. And then I was defined as a son and a brother in a family unit. And then gradually I sort of started to make decisions myself that changed my definition. I mean, do you remember, when I grew my hair long and got a motorbike and wore a leather jacket, and it was like a search for an identity at that time. It's a bit like Quadrophenia, probably a film you don't like because it's very popular, but you've probably seen it, I assume.
I have seen Quadrophenia, yeah.
Yeah, you remember, Phil Daniels plays the lead role, doesn't he? He's Jimmy in that, and it's a search for identity there. And he was very influenced by the peer group that were around him. And I think, looking back, I was probably influenced by the people I was hanging around with that bought motorbikes and grew their hair long and wore leather jackets and listened to heavy metal music.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that was something that I made a decision, and it started to define me at that point, didn't it? Do you ever get, this is not on my notes here, but do you ever get people coming in and that are playing two different roles in their life?
Yeah.
They're using a mask, because I know in the addiction and in recovery, we've all been wearing masks for so long, we don't even know who we are underneath it all.
Well, yeah, I mean, the answer to your question is yes, everybody. because
right, okay.
Because one of the questions that I often ask people is, I have a conversation with people about the roles that they play in their life. So most people will play a multiplicity of roles. So people will be, a father, a son, a brother, maybe, a professional, a friend, a partner, whatever it might be. And so there's a kind of familiarity with those roles. We know what is expected of us as, in our job. We probably know what's expected of us as a parent. We might know what's expected of us as a partner. We might not always fulfill those expectations. But the role that most people seem to have most trouble with is their role as themselves. If you say to someone, imagine stripping all those roles away. Imagine you're no longer a parent, no longer a brother, no longer a son, no longer a partner, no longer a professional. Now who are you? And that's a question that people often find it very, very difficult to answer, because that's what you're asking them is, well, who are you without all of those roles? So, yes, I think everybody plays multiple roles. The problem, I think, is when we only think of ourselves in terms of the roles we play rather than who we might be kind of underneath them. I mean, obviously, we're a kind of mixture of all of those roles we play anyway. Does that make sense?
I think we are. Yeah, it does make sense. It just seems to me, I mean, if you're asking people to strip away all those different layers, you're going to get down to a base person that I don't think, I don't know where you go from that, but it fits in quite nicely into when we're going into recovery. We've got down to that base person, really. We're nothing apart from an alcoholic. There's nothing there left really that defines us, and
that's what you see at that moment, isn't it? You know, when it's exactly what I'm talking about. When you strip all of those other roles away, you've either lost them or you've shed them when you've got to that point where you're coming into recovery. Yeah. And when you say, you know, we've got nothing left but an alcoholic, and what I'm saying is, there's much more to you than that. But at that moment, all you can see is the alcoholic. You know, you are defining yourself purely in terms of that aspect of your life. You know, that's one of the reasons I have such an issue with the phrase, it's not who you are underneath, it's what you do that defines you, because we're so much more than our behaviours.
I think we probably are, but it just seems that when we go into recovery, we have a great chance to put those layers back on that we've lost, put them back on in the right order, and to redefine ourselves, rebuild ourselves as a much better person than the layers that were there before. I mean, it just going back to that message I had this morning, the guy that was in touch with Chris knew me, defined me as the person who painted album covers on jackets. That's all he knew me for. Yeah. And then it reminded me also that you know, I was involved in a discussion on Facebook, and this girl got in touch. She only knew me as the lead singer in a band. She'd been to a lot of our gigs, and she knew nothing else about me apart from that I was a singer in a band. And so, as far as I was concerned, as far as she's concerned, that defined me. Yeah. And it, you know, as I went through, I went through my career, and I was defined sort of as a career man and a business owner. You know, then I became defined as a father to my children, and then as a divorcee, and sort of then as an alcoholic, which seems to me the big one. I don't know if that's my perception of things or what I think other people think of me as.
Yeah, I mean, that's what you're talking about there, is that when people only see you through a certain window, then they inevitably will define you in terms of the majority view, won't they? So if they mostly know you as a professional, they'll know you as that. If they only really met you in recovery, then they'll know you as a recovering addict. So, you know, when I think of you, I mean, I think of you as a git, but further than that, you know, all of those roles, I recognise all of those roles that you're talking about, but I don't define you in any one of them. You know, I can see that all of those are aspects of you, but that's not how I see you. So that, I think that comes from the kind of breadth of view that someone might have of you if they've known you a long time. But I wonder how you see yourself. How do you think of you?
Well, it's strange because, I mean, you know, all those things I mentioned there, I mean, are they really who I am? I don't know. Are they just merely part of the sort of journey? I know you love that word. Or you know, a title we apply, or is it just life experience that sort of that demonstrates what we're made up of? I don't know. It's a tricky one. And I see myself, when I used to, after I'd sort of got my recovery on track, I saw myself as a recovering alcoholic, and it was a title I was really proud to use. And I think, you know, that stuck with me for the first, you know, 2 or 3 years of recovery. You know, I'd tell everyone, you know, I was really proud because I'd made these great strides. But I think now I don't define myself as that anymore. Even though I am, I like to see myself more as a mentor to other people in recovery.
But aren't you more than that?
Yeah, I think so. I think I am. I'd like to think I am, but it's suddenly it struck me that we get big things happen in our life that can define. To take my Uncle Jeff, for example, we talked about him on a previous episode. I see him as an alcoholic. That's what defines it. And anyone that I speak to in the family, they remember him as an alcoholic. You know, he done other good stuff in his life. He done a lot of bad stuff, but he done some good stuff in his life. It's not remembered. It's this big thing that comes along. And so I'm quite conscious that, you know, I'm not forever remembered as an alcoholic.
Why do you think Uncle Jeff is remembered as an alcoholic and not really remembered as anything else?
I suspect that because it was the impact that had not only on his life, but on those around him.
Yeah, and with Uncle Jeff, you know, Nobody really saw much. Pretty much everything else that he would have done was obscured by alcohol.
Yeah.
Wasn't it?
Yes.
And but I still, come back to the previous question, which is, what about how we see ourselves? That's important, isn't it? That's the thing that really matters. If you do you ever do any sort of meditation or mindfulness or anything like that?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
When you're having a fruit tea.
Oh, I don't have a fruit tea. I don't like those. But that book you gave me many moons ago about the Buddhist meditation and chants, I still refer to that a lot. Right. I still like that. I like to have a meditative state. Not. I was thinking about going to the local Buddhist meetings, etc., where you do meditation. But I like to just do it on my own in small sections, really, when I feel it's necessary, rather than going to a meeting where it's defined you must meditate at that time.
Right. So when you do, I'll tell you what I'm going to do on this episode. I'm going to put on the end of it a little guided visualization. Okay. So just to put that into context, when you're sitting and you're doing a sort of little meditation where you're just kind of sitting with you've got no sounds, that you're not listening to music or anything. You're just sitting with yourself.
No. Yeah.
That is the time when you're really experiencing who you are. You don't have to label that. You don't have to say, "Oh, I'm this, I'm that, I'm a, recovering alcoholic, I'm someone who paints jackets," or whatever it might be. Because you're almost looking for a contentment in just being with yourself, just checking in with yourself, if you like. And so when you do, like a guided visualization is like a sort of guided meditation. And, I've worked with a lot of people, and this is very true of recovering addicts. They actually quite often find it very difficult to sit in silence, because what they're really doing is sitting with themselves. And a lot of people find it uncomfortable to sit with themselves because that's a person that they struggle to get on with.
No, I totally agree, because certainly when I was doing my rehab course, there was meditation involved in that, but it was in a group, and I found it quite difficult in a group to do meditation, and the other people in the group found it so as well, especially they're sitting with ourselves at that point where we are still pretty down on ourselves. I think the natural thing to do there was just to laugh, and it wasn't taken seriously enough at that point. But I think it was a gentle introduction to meditation, which I find much more soothing now than I did at the time, on my own rather than in a group.
So at the end of the episode, I'm going to put a little guided meditation on so that everybody who's listening can try sort of 10 minutes sitting with themselves, being with their own thoughts, and we'll see what that's like for people.
Oh, that'd be brilliant, and I'll try it myself. And we've totally gone off topic here, but I think it's quite a good because there was nothing about meditation in my notes at all. But now
that's your fault. You've let me drag you off course. It's not,
It's evolved. It has. No, this episode's evolved, and I think it's evolving nicely. To be honest, to drag it back to any sort of sense, I'm going to have trouble now, really.
My attention was slightly taken because somebody arrived in a car just down the road, and I saw them get out of their car, and it looked very much like Roger de Courcy, but he didn't appear to have Nicky Bear with him. So,
is Roger still alive?
I don't think he is. I don't think he is. I think he's dead.
But see, Roger de Courcy was defined by his bear, wasn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when I think of Roger de Courcy, I just think of Nookie Bear and long hair, bald head, moustache.
Yeah. I'm starting to look a little bit like Roger de Courcy in some ways, aren't I?
You look more like Nookie Bear.
I think we're locked down locks. So very much Roger de Courcy-esque. Anyway, where were we? Yeah. So do you reckon there's a difference between the sort of roles we adopt and the way that we're defined? I mean, is there? I know when I was looking at the heading of definitions and roles, are they intertwined or are they separate issues?
I think the way that we define ourselves is connected to the roles that we play. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, I do really. Yes.
So again, to use a sort of simple example, in my work, it's very, very common for me to find people who are very adept at performing in their work, but their private life is a car crash.
Right, yeah.
And they sometimes think, I don't know, I can't work out why this is. Why can I be so effective at work, whereas in my private life it's an absolute disaster? And I think often that's about roles, because, you know, I would often say to someone, well, at work, you know what's expected of you, don't you? You know who you are. You know, sometimes you've probably even got a job description. So when you show up to work, you're effectively being told who you've got to be. And you can do that because it's pretty clear. Here are the rules and regulations. This is what I've got to do. I turn up and I am that person and it's all okay. When you come away from your work and you're living in your private life, no one's giving you a job description. You've got to be yourself, or you've got to be some sort of amalgam of yourself and playing this role as a father, husband, whatever. And that's what gives people trouble, because they don't know how to guide themselves into something that is similarly effective. Is that
yeah?
awesome?
I mean, it does. It just reminds me of being a functioning alcoholic, and we talked about that before. Yeah. Where, you know, when I was certainly doing work up in the city, where I'd be, you know, in board meetings during the morning, for example. And going through, you know, many millions and billions of pounds being moved around within pension funds, etc. And then I'd go home, and on the way home I'd get pissed, because that was that was the other side of me, which I was struggling to contain that at the time. I remember, you know, not how difficult it was not to drink before I went into some of those meetings, and how desperate I was when the meeting finished that I'd go and revert back to what was starting to become the overriding factor in my life, which was becoming less of a pensions advisor and more of an alcoholic. So my definition was blurring at that point, and it was very soon to change for the worse.
Yeah, you're not so much in demand as an alcoholic as you would be as a pensions advisor, would you?
Not really. No, you can't charge the same sort of fee. You know, exactly. Yeah. No, you can't. Yeah, I think your fees are a lot lower. I think you have to set your fee structure a little bit differently. It's not so much of a call for an alcoholic. I just wanted to sort of come on to one last quote here, which I just wanted to discuss with you. This was by a recovering alcoholic, and it says, whether they are circumstances we cannot control, ones that we have created, or ones that have been created for us by others, how we handle them determines what defines us.
Well, that sounds like a rewording of the Serenity Prayer to me.
It struck me as being a bit like that, where it's and because it was done by a recovering alcoholic, it seemed to ring the same sort of bell as that. Yes.
Yeah. So that seems to be saying, let's pick our battles. Let's know where we can have influence and try and have as positive influence as we can. But I mean, again, that's still all about behaviour, isn't it? And I would maintain that our sense of who we are is more than our emotions. It's more than our physical bodies. It's more than our behaviours. You know, right at the core of us, there's something else. You know, the American Indians have got a lovely way of describing this. The Native Americans, they say that when we're born, in the moment we're born, we are our true spirit. That's how we're born. That's how we come into the world, as our true spirit. And as we get older and we start to understand what other people around us expect of us, we start to try and meet their expectations. And in so doing, we spiral away from the true spirit. We start to get further and further away from it as we're pulled in different directions to be this and be that and be something else. And then if we're lucky, at some point in our lives, something happens and we realise how far we've spiraled away from our true spirit. And only then can we begin the painstaking work of walking back there.
Yes, I like that. And I know we have sort of discussed that before in relation to addiction, etc. And I think it's quite relevant, because going back to what I was saying about, you know, we've moved away a long way away from our core self when alcohol plays such a massive part in our lives, and recovery does start to take us back towards that core where we can rebuild. But it is a painful walk back to that core.
Yeah, but realising that you've travelled a long way from your kind of true essence of yourself is very important when you come into recovery, because what that acknowledges is that this is not who you are. That this, you know, even if you feel as if your life has become, you know, a shell, and you've ruined everything and you've lost everything and you're an absolute, you know, scumbag that doesn't deserve anything, to recognise that what you're experiencing is the distance you've travelled from the person you were when you were born, is a kind of reminder to you that you've just come a long way from the essence of who you are, who you were when you came into the world, which I think is a kind of message of hope, isn't it? I think
it is.
The other thing that's important to bear in mind with our sense of identity and who we are is that it's always changing. Now, I think we get ourselves into difficulty if we think about identity as something which is fixed. Oh, this is who I am. This is always, people say to me, oh, I've always been like that. And I think, no, you can't have always been like that because we're forever changing. You can't, it takes a lot of work to be stuck for years and years and years and years. Understanding that who we are is fluid, I think, is also in some way liberating. Just because I feel like this today doesn't mean I'll feel like it tomorrow. If you do that little exercise, the little meditation thing, the experience you get of doing it today will not be the same as the experience you get of doing it tomorrow.
No, true.
Exactly. For a start, it'll be hotter tomorrow.
Yeah, I think you're right. But I think that sort of wraps this up quite nicely. But it's just one last question I wanted to ask you.
Yeah.
And I've asked it of myself. So actually, I'll start it then. So, how would you like to be remembered?
Oh,
because for me, I'd quite like to be remembered as someone who beat his demons. I'd be quite happy with that as an epitaph.
At the moment, I'd remember you as someone with wayward hair.
Well, exactly. I'm hoping to some extent that I don't get it cut before next week's episode because it sort of winds into it, but that a little bit as well.
Oh, that's good.
We'll come back to that.
You see, okay, so there's almost another episode in that. How would you like to be remembered? Well, in a way, because when you ask how would you like to be remembered, your sense of how you would want to be remembered is almost inevitably is not going to be replicated by anyone else. Because I wouldn't remember you as someone who beat your demons. I would acknowledge that had been a part of who you were, but if God forbid you weren't here, I would remember you in a much broader, richer sense than that. So, to me, that feeling, I can understand why you have that sense of yourself, but I suspect for most of the people that have known you, that would be kind of two-dimensional.
You reckon?
Yeah.
So how do you think I will remember you then? Which is an interesting one. I'll answer how I think I'll remember you. This is strange talking posthumously about each other, but
we could write each other's eulogies, couldn't we?
Yeah, exactly.
I've already decided what music I want at my funeral.
Yeah, I think that's quite weird because I was thinking about it the other day. It's just my ex-brother-in-law. When I was speaking to him, he's got his playlist on his phone.
Oh yeah, I haven't gone that far.
And he changes it from time to time, but yeah.
I'm going to try and get some American rock into yours if I'm still around.
Oh no, that'd be part of my last will and testament that no American rock is to come anywhere near.
I'm going to slip. I'm going to slip a Journey CD into your coffin. Sorry, no. How do I remember? I don't. Let me answer your question first. How would I want to be remembered?
Yes.
I don't really know. I mean, I'm not sure that exercises me too much. And this is the truth. I think I've reached a point in my life now where I try and go through my life trying to live well, trying to be helpful and supportive where I can, trying to look after myself, not to do damage to other people or, other things unnecessarily. And that's the best I can do. And I don't know really how people remember me, but I'm honestly, genuinely trying to live a decent life. And, I can't really do any more than that.
No, it's a tricky one, isn't it? Because when I was writing my notes, I didn't really know the answer to that one myself. I was thinking as I was going along. But the way I'd remember you probably, and this is something because it's something I'll easily remember you by, is being a writer of some very good songs.
Oh, that's right.
And I think... Yeah. Well, no, I think one of the defining songs was the one you wrote about my brother Paul, which was partly written as he was dying and partly written once he died. Yeah. And that song is it's going to mean a lot to me anyway, but it's probably one of the most beautiful songs I've ever written. And I think that would. I am going to be very biased on that, but when if I outlive you and you're gone but not forgotten, I can play some of your CDs and I can play some of your old tracks. And I think, oh yeah, bless his heart, he was a good old boy.
I'd like that. I don't know how I'd feel about having my own stuff played at my funeral. Well, see, I'll tell you interestingly about song. I know we've gone over time here. I'm going to have to edit this one down. Yeah. But the interesting thing about songs, sometimes when I put a bit of music at the end of each episode, and usually if you don't recognise the song, you say to me, "Oh, I didn't recognise that song," and I then tell you what it is. Anyway, a couple of weeks ago, I can't remember which episode it was. A couple of weeks ago, I put a song on there, and you didn't ask me what it was, and I knew you didn't know it. And I was waiting for you to ask me what it was. And it was, funny enough, it was a song that I wrote after I'd seen you in that pub in Headcorn when I hadn't seen you for years, when I thought you were going to die.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah.
You'll have to, have you got the whole song recorded anywhere?
Yeah, I have got the whole song somewhere. But
I'll have to listen to that then, because I don't recall ever hearing it.
No, you haven't ever heard it. I don't think I've ever recorded it properly. Perhaps it'll be on my next album.
Well, it's been a long time coming. Your next album. When was your last
2010. About 10 years, I'd say, something like that.
Well, I'm going to remember you as a sloppy recording artist in that case, then, because that's way too long.
I've had an EP since then. Does that count?
Yeah, it does. It does. Yeah. I'll let you have that. It's. I've got that EP as well. I mean, it's under L.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, matey. Well, don't go, because I want to speak to you off air once we finish this.
All right then. See you later.
Later.
Bye.
Bye.
Sideways was created by Graham Landy and Martin Pankhurst. If you want to read more about our work, visit grahamlandywellbeing.co.uk/sideways-podcast. You can follow us on Twitter, you can find us on our Facebook page at Sideways Podcast, and you can email us. And finally, we want to thank you for listening and ask that if you've enjoyed what you've heard, that you spread the word. And if you're about to listen to the guided relaxation, please make sure it's safe for you to do so, i.e. not when you're driving. So we'll see you next week. From where you're sitting or lying comfortably, just pick a spot on the wall in front of you, or on the ceiling, or if it's dark, a shape, a shadow, some light, and let your eyes rest on that. Just stare at that point. Just keep focusing on that spot without moving your eyes. And while you keep looking at that spot, wandering around it, but coming back to it with your eyes in a gentle, easygoing, comfortable way, you can become aware of the muscles around your eyes, how they're holding your eyes up, and your eyelids, and what they feel like. You may blink a bit more frequently, and your breathing might get deeper as you relax. And now, as your eyes are resting on that spot on the wall, or on the ceiling, or the shadow or the shape, attracting your focus, your mind wrapped around the idea of that spot where your eyes are resting now. Your eyelids may perhaps become heavy, or your eyes may want to close. But don't close them just yet. Let them remain open and blinking. Blinking maybe more frequently now. And you might wonder if that blink is slower than normal. And some people find that their focus becomes increasingly fuzzy. Their vision gets dim, misty. As you look at that spot, you might see it begins to waver, move. You might see it blurring. Or the spot may change in shape, shade, colour, light. You may have noticed your arms, your legs getting heavier as your eyelids get heavier and heavier. And as you think about how nice it would be to allow your eyes and eyelids to relax and close those tired eyes. As you focus your eyes on that spot, and as they become more tired and more heavy, more fatigued, when you're ready, you can close your eyes. And closing your eyes means you can relax now. And relaxing feels good, peaceful, calm, as you really let yourself relax. Feeling a warm wave of relaxation spreading up over your body. Just becoming aware of all the muscles in your body. And then releasing any tension from them. From your feet, your legs, your stomach, your chest. Just releasing any tension in your muscles all down your arms, through your wrists and hands. Releasing the muscles in your shoulders, letting them sink back down your neck and all over your head. Breathing in for just a moment and breathing out, and allowing the relaxation to double again throughout your entire body, going deeper and deeper into a wonderful state of relaxation. Deeper, deeply, all the way, all the way. Now imagine yourself as a tall, strong tree. You stand in a field surrounded by green grass which stretches off far into the distance, and the hills beyond, covered in purples and blues, flowers, foliage. There's a sparkling river that runs nearby, and you're constantly soothed and relaxed by the gentle babble of the water. There are flowers and shrubs, fruit hanging heavy from the branches of apple, pear, plum, peach trees. Imagine this now. Imagine yourself, this tree, in the most wonderful, serene, peaceful, beautiful place you've ever been. If you were able to choose the most perfect and idyllic spot in which you could bury your strong roots deep into the ground, this is that place. This is the place where you feel safe, comfortable, strong, and relaxed. As relaxed as you ever felt. Feel your feet standing firm and strong on the ground. But more than that, feel your legs extend into the ground deep, deep, down, down, far into the sweet-smelling earth, holding you firm and strong and immovable, holding you here through the passage of time, holding you straight, unerring, through dark days and light, and feel your branches full with leaves. These leaves which have served you well and hung from your branches as reminders of all the things you needed to do, all the tasks, all the challenges, all the stresses of everyday life, reminding you to keep going, keep moving, the next thing, to keep moving through that cycle of life, to concentrate on the right things at the right times. But as life changes and time passes, what was important to you and needed your attention and your concentration yesterday does not need it so much today, because you need to find room on your branches for new growth, new challenges, new excitements, new adventures which meet your needs. You can't keep the same leaves forever, because that stops new growth. You cannot stop tomorrow coming. You cannot live in yesterday. Only with every full blossom of new life and new leaf can you be sure that life is moving forward, that you are becoming bigger, stronger, more beautiful, that you're fulfilling the promise that you had when you were small. So today, these old leaves on your branches represent the past. They represent worries, anxieties, stresses that you don't need anymore. The stress that holds you back from being the person you really are. And these leaves, each one of them, is just a reminder of a stress, an anxiety, something not done, a challenge unmet, a mountain to climb. But of course, you know you can do that something. You can meet that challenge, you can climb that mountain. But only if you want to, you wish to. Only if it is good for you and what you want. So today the wind is blowing, and it blows hard. And you know you will stand strong in any wind. There is no wind that can blow you down. You know that this is impossible. So far do your roots dig deep into the earth. But your leaves, these stress leaves that are of no use any longer, well, they hang on to your branches. These worry leaves, leaves of anxiety, stress, doubt, they still hold fast. And so what happens when the wind blows hard at you? Do you know what happens when a tree is big and strong and so full of these leaves of doubt and stress and worry blows hard at you? Well, your leaves, they act like a sail, like a huge sail on a ship, catching the wind as it blows hard. And they push you back. These leaves just make it harder for you to stand straight and tall, because they take so much energy from you as they hold the wind. They hold it and bend you backwards, making you tired, making you worried, making you stressed, making you doubt that you can stand. You know you can, but as you rock back on your strong trunk, you have no energy left for anything else. As the wind blows, there is no space for enjoying the view. The hills, the flowers, the green, green grass. You can't hear the gentle babble of the river or see off into the distance, because all of your concentration is focused on these leaves, the leaves that hold you back, leaves of stress that you don't need. So now as the wind blows hard and strong, harder and stronger still, I want you to let the leaves fall. Just let them fall from your branches. And as they fall, you see each of the stresses, worries, anxieties that they represent just gently fall away from you. Watch for a while as they fall gently, peacefully from your branches. And maybe you can look for a special stress, a special worry or concern, and see it fall away. Watch it, without drama, without fuss, without struggle. They all fall away because you have chosen now to let them fall away. You have acknowledged that you need them no longer, that they must fall so you are freed from the stress and anxiety that holds you back. Watch them fall and swirl, turn in the wind, until they settle lightly on the ground far away from you, pushed to every corner over the hills taken for miles and miles in the strengthening wind. And what is different now that you've released your grip on these leaves of doubt, stress and worry? Well, suddenly there is space between your branches. There is freedom, and the wind just blows through. There's nothing now to catch the hard wind, and so it blows through as if it were not there at all. So your attention can turn away, because it's easy now to stand tall, upright, strong, positive. It's easy to look around at the beauty of the world and all that really deserves your attention. And you realise soon the wind has stopped blowing. There is peace. There is peace. There is relaxation. There is space. There is time for contemplation. And soon new buds will appear on your branches, the growth that replaces the old, the new that represents all of your hopes, dreams and aspirations, all of your ambitions and plans for the future. Now there is space for all the positive and the wonderful in your life. So just imagine those new buds developing and think for a moment, just for a moment, about what they represent. See yourself achieving all that you want to achieve, and how all of that new growth will help you to plan the future. See yourself with this new coat of leaves shining, perfect. The new personal growth that it represents, making you feel proud and happy, secure, relaxed. And know that you are a wonderful, strong, unique creation of nature. You will naturally meet all of the challenges that come to you, because that is how you grow taller into the sky, deeper into the ground. This is how you become the wonderful creation that you are and were meant to be.